Hi, this is Edward Troxel. In today's tutorial, we're going to look at the methods of accessing where the cursor is on the timeline. We'll see where the cursor is, learn how to create selection areas, and a couple of other things. So let's get started. The first thing we want to do is actually look to find where the cursor position is located. So here I've created a time code variable called cursor position, in which case we're going to get the position of the cursor. To locate the position of the cursor, we can go to myvegas.transport.cursorPosition. Now if we go in and look at the myvegas variable and we just hit dot, then we will see that there is also a cursor option right here. We don't want to use that one anymore, as this one has technically been deprecated. It is best to go into the actual transport, and then when we look in here we have cursor position. So it is best to go into the transport cursor position instead of just looking at the other one. So this will get us the cursor position and set the time code of the cursor position into this variable. Then let's create a selection starting at the cursor position. So we'll go to myvegas.transport.selectionStart, which is right here, and we also have a selection length. Once again, let's go back to the myvegas variable and we hit dot, and if we look here we can see that there is a selection start and a selection length out here. Once again, we don't want to use those because these are the old ones and the new ones are under transport. So we want to make sure we use the ones under transport. So now we have a selection start, and we're going to set that to the cursor position. And then we also have a selection length, and right now I've just created a new time code for 5 seconds long. So if we run this, right now I just have a single event on the timeline, and if we run this, we will see at the cursor location we got a selection area that is 5 seconds long. Now if we play this back, it is looping in this area. Down here is the loop playback button that you can turn on or off, but we can also change that in our script. So if we go into myvegas.transport, there is also a loop mode. This is a Boolean variable, so we set it to true or false. If we set it to true, then looping is going to be turned on. If we set it to false, then looping will be turned off. So let's set this to false right quick. So it created our 5-second selection area. If we look down here, looping is turned off, and if we play, it just stopped. It just played that loop area and stopped. If we come back here and change this to true, and let's try this again. So now we have our selection area. This is turned on, and when we play, and it just keeps on going back and forth through that entire loop area again and again. In addition to a selection start, we have another option. So let me make a quick change here. Under transport, we also have a dot loop region start and a loop region length. So we're doing the same thing. Let's set the start of the loop region to the cursor position, and then we'll set the loop region length to a 10-second time code. So let's see what happens when we run this one. Right now we have transport loop mode still set to true. So now we have a 10-second loop, and this is set to true. So let's play this. And it loops stopped at the 10-second part. So now let's do this again with loop set to false. So now we have our 10-second selection, and this is set to false, and we push play. And in this case, it just kept on going. It didn't stop like it did when we created the selection area. It just kept on going. When we created the selection area, it stopped when it got to the end. When we created the loop region, it just kept on going when it got to the end. That's really the only difference I can see between using the loop region and selection area. So I'm going to change this back to selection area. I'm going to get rid of this loop mode line, and I've added a new line of code here. Also under transport, we're using now zoom selection. So I've created my selection area once again starting at the cursor position and made it 5 seconds in length. Now what zoom selection will do is it will zoom in to whatever selection area you have created. If necessary, it'll even adjust the timeline back and forth so that the entire selection area is shown on the screen. And I've used this several times. I've created like a 2-minute selection area and then had it zoom into that selection area to have it the length that I wanted it to use. So let's see how this works. So now we have a selection area that is 5 seconds in length, and the timeline is now zoomed into this 5 seconds. So you can see the selection area right here is 5 seconds in length, and this entire area is zoomed in to this 5 seconds. So we notice it starts at 11 and ends at 16. So now we just have these 5 seconds shown on the timeline. So now I'm going to zoom back out, and this is about what we were seeing before. Now I've made a quick change to the script, and now we're getting the cursor position at the myvegas.transport.cursor position, and then we're going to create a new marker at the cursor position, and for the name of the marker we're just going to give it the time code of the cursor position. And then we have to go to myvegas.project.markers.add, and then we add that new marker to the timeline. So if we run this right quick, you will see that it did add the marker, and it named it 705, and it's at location 705. Now, if we were playing back the timeline, suppose you wanted these to appear on the fly, then we could play back the timeline and now run the script. And you will notice that it created one at the cursor position at the time the script got the time code, and so at 1827 it created a marker called 1827. Naturally, if you were doing something like this, you would probably take this script and put it on a button on the toolbar so that you could run it directly without having to go through the menu. But you'll notice when the script ran, the playback stopped. What if you wanted to just add marker after marker after marker while the playback was continuing? Well, fortunately, we can still do that too. To do that, we need to add one more new line. So here's the new line we need. We go to myVegas, and then we do .resume playback on script exit. Then we can set that to true or false. Of course, by default, it is false. So I'm going to change that to true. And let's see what happens now. So we start the playback, and now let's run the script again. And it added the marker and kept playing. So now we can do it over and over again. So as you can see, it just grabs the cursor at the time that the script will grab it, make the marker, and then the playback will resume upon exiting. So this will give you a little information about how the script can actually locate the cursor position, create a selection area. We can actually zoom in and into that selection area. And if the script does something to the timeline, such as add a marker, we can actually get the script to continue playing back after the script has finished. Otherwise, if we don't make that one change, the script would just make the playback stop. So I hope you find this helpful. Please sign up at www.jettv.com and subscribe on YouTube to get further notifications on when new videos are presented.